Hi everyone, my name is Janine Joseph, and I will be reading poems from my collection Decade of the Brain out with Alice James Books. It is currently a finalist for the Big Other Book Award in Poetry. The collection documents in part the post-concussive years after my car accident in 2008 when I lost my memory and the subsequent years of my naturalization after having grown up undocumented in this country. This first poem is called Abecedarian, which is an abecedarian, and it mentions my grandmother, Lillian Leonardo, who was an actress in the Philippines, and it also features the alphabet that I grew up with, which was the Filipino alphabet or the Tagalog alphabet, and it contains 28 letters. Abecedarian or Aba. Bourdain in the rerun says the king of fruits, camembert-like custard, smells of sun-spoiled death. But the phrase she recalls is dead grandmother, which bites my tongue. How does anyone forget ever eating, ever excavating from the pale lobes of the foie gras fruit, she gasps. We finish the rest of our attachments with this misgiving, Googling images of thorned husks bisected like my own human brain. Impossible to her to sample, then overwrite the funk. Impossible to her that the Janine I was ram-rattled into the Janine I am now. When the concussion receded, I journeyed across came and kettle in my habit of skin, immigrant again in this afterlife of a life without my grandmother tongue. In Lake Lillian, I pressed my forehead, but nothing natural bore me. I dub her monochrome now with noise. Ang Doktora Príncipe Teñoso, anak ng kidlat, her whole oeuvre voiced over with what I have left. How does anyone forget? Pollen yellow, the odious pulp I can't qualify on my taste buds. How quick my mouth went dry. At the reunion, we extend the butterfly leaf, reminisce around the table, and in all my stories, she is a monolingual sitcom grandma. When I sketch the time she didn't know it was me telephoning, I flush with my hands two fluencies, the punchline undermined. Even their memories, my memory devours into this vanisher language. How does anyone do anything? I stop asking when I board the plane. In this life, I exist awake until the altitude change exhumes me. Where did she go? Where did I go in that rest? I've heard it's xenoglossy. What happened next? I heard through the pain, faint as zodiacal light, her voice in the air beyond where the body went down. This next poem has a running title, so it is called The Night Before You Are Naturalized, and I'll read it again when I start the poem. The night before you are naturalized, we practice an ordinary life. Fresh off my flight, you ask if I have eaten, and I ask you if you are hungry, and we pull into the lot of the nearest restaurant that has something for you and something for me. It's almost spontaneous. We just have to make a quick call to say they can eat on ahead without us. You are seated to face me, and out of habit, I face the window that overlooks the corner and reach of street. I order what I've missed most, and you listen for what is good here. Then order what comes recommended. It takes me through the appetizers to not be distracted by the moment's poetry. How I might write a poem titled, like that magazine's tagline, "They're just like us," for example. Or a poem set here against the partition, where I erase you by calling you alien relative in every instance where the you appears and I disappear behind the petitioner in a bit of verse, not really for us, but for the paparazzi reading. I focus when I see you fumbling with your grin, your front flipper tooth suddenly chipped in half, which you hand me when I ask what it is that you have done. Our dinner bowls arrive, but we are busy rehearsing your backup face for tomorrow's pictures. When we finally eat, a silence settles that isn't silence. You just won't smile, you say, and show me the closed beam you'll make. And I say, I'll figure it out. Don't worry, I'll fix it. And I do. With a needle and a glue, I bond it. This final poem is the title poem of the collection, Decade of the Brain, and it takes its name from a presidential proclamation which declared the 90s as the decade of the brain. And there's an epigraph to this poem, which I'll also read. It comes from Wikipedia. Thank you all for listening, and thank you for this amazing note on my book. Thank you for naming it a finalist. Decade of the Brain. The boundaries of a CDP have no legal status and may not always correspond with the local understanding of the area or community with the same name. Wikipedia, census designated place. Alone from my porch, through the thick grass, and into the street suffused with mammatus light, I walk. No birds call, but the gale pulls chimes from the wood. Days and night with the movers pass, and I make a career of anticipating on the buckled blacktop a tornado to descend like a spine and distort the field. It is mine now, a yard among yards where neighbors hedge their cars crosswise and the steel blooms at solar noon. Mine, the salaried life my parents scrounged for. One can at a time in the shopping cart, we raucous for miles down graveled roads like these. I can see it through the glare. Pedley, California, 1991. My first fall in the decade of understanding and discovering ourselves as Americans. The little we knew, we balanced on a wobbly, folding wicker chair, changing the channels by hand with a knob until the electricity shut off and the pool scourged with mosquitoes. Clear still, the ringing of pennies rained from their pockets into the 3-foot tall glass jar centered in the home like a hearth. I can see it, though my searches load our disappearance from the map. In history, we exist only in the count, our bodies a record of a place absorbed by ink. But I was witness. I watched their teeth, their hair fall out in clenches I temper now, here, on this plain, far and away from each of them, where decades have done nothing but landscape the landscape. Still, still, they are here as I am, landlocked as I remember it.